Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peak Northwest, an outdoors and travel podcast by the Oregonian and Oregon Live, dedicated to the adventure and exploration of our beautiful Pacific Northwest. I'm Jamie Hale.
And I'm Vicki Connor. Together, we take you to some of the most beautiful and interesting destinations in our region, discussing where to go, what to do, and places to see. And today, we're going to one of Oregon's most popular state parks, but to a part of it that relatively few people visit, and that's the backcountry of Silver Falls.
Yeah, Vicki, I think most listeners are familiar with Silver Falls State Park, but just in case you're not, this is a place that is considered one of the crown jewels of Oregon's state park system. It's a veritable waterfall wonderland where you can hike to and even hike behind nearly a dozen waterfalls on some pretty moderately easy trails. There's a campground, there's a big day use area, there's like a cafe, some picnic spots, and really just about everything you'd want out of a state park.
Silver Falls is pretty amazing. This was, I went out to Silver Falls. It was like my first trip going to hike somewhere that like wasn't really the gorge, just another part of Oregon that wasn't the gorge upon moving here over the summer of 2021. And I went and did what many have to do on their first trip to Silver Falls, hiking the Trail of 10 Falls.
That's right.
And
that's right.
It was incredible. It was so good. I loved it.
That's the thing to do. You hike the Trail of 10 Falls. That's the thing.
Exactly.
What did you think of it?
It was amazing. It was a little bit crowded by the time we got there, but that's to be expected. But the trail is a great day hiking area because it's about like 7 miles. And almost like right off the bat, the way that we went, you get to see the huge fall. I think is it South Falls? That's
the main one. Yeah. From the main parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved that because you get to walk behind this incredible waterfall, and it wasn't like too far from the parking lot too. So, my friend Nicole, who is also a reporter at the Oregonian, she and I went to Silver Falls and did the Trail of 10 Falls. And, the way that we went, the first waterfall you see is South Falls, which is the one that I think Silver Falls is kind of known for because it's this massive waterfall not too far from the parking lot, and you can walk behind it, which is always so cool to me.
And that's the thing, I think, is a lot of people, when they go to Silver Falls, that's where you go. You go to these waterfalls because obviously this is, you have one of the most gorgeous areas of waterfalls, one of the best concentrations of waterfalls in the Northwest. Obviously, that's where you're going to go. But there is a whole other side to Silver Falls State Park that relatively few people actually go and see. And I had never been to until just recently.
Mm-hmm. And when exactly did you go and see the backcountry?
So this was in December, right? So just right about the beginning of winter, or maybe the end of fall, right around there in that transitionary season. It was kind of drizzly, kind of foggy, kind of those off and on clouds that you see. And my goal was to explore this enormous backcountry that I had never been to before. I didn't know a whole lot about it until a few years ago when some wildfires were threatening Silver Falls State Park. And everyone thinks, oh my gosh, like these trails we love, all these campgrounds, that they're under threat. But the fire actually only burned a very small amount of the backcountry. And I was like, the backcountry? How big is that? How much of that is there? And as it turns out, there's a lot of it. So Silver Falls State Park is about 9,000 acres in all, but there are some roughly 35 miles of backcountry trails in that area outside of the Trail of 10 Falls. So they're just, miles upon miles upon miles to go hiking, mountain bike riding, horseback riding, whatever you want to do. There's all kinds of stuff to do there.
And so for people who are not really familiar with this term backcountry, what exactly is it? Yeah,
it's kind of a funny term, right? I think we think of backcountry, we think of, more rough or undeveloped areas. People go hiking off the beaten trail, right? In Silver Falls, this word typically just refers to areas outside of that main developed area that people go to. So if you're used to going to the Trail of 10 Falls, the South Falls day use area, even the North Falls day use area, all these big spots The backcountry is everything else. All these trails that, you're not going to find any waterfalls on these trails. You're going to find few, if any, really nice views. It's basically just miles upon miles of hiking through lush, dense forest, which is a whole other kind of experience of going outside.
Totally. So because this is a little bit further removed from these more well-traveled trails, did you see a lot of other people when you were there?
No. And again, this is a weekday. I chose to do, I did one overnighter. So two days and one night. And I think it was, like a Tuesday, Wednesday or something like that. Because I, the luxury of doing that for my job, I pick those days when I don't have to worry about, trying to get reservations or seeing too many people. So I saw, I think my first day of hiking, I got there and I did what's called the Buck Mountain Loop, which is a really nice loop hike that takes you through some of a big chunk of that backcountry. And it's about 8 miles in all, the loop. And I saw not a single person while I was hiking. I got a couple people at the trailhead when I ended, but not a single soul for those 8 miles. It was just me in the trees, basically.
Wow.
And it was a really cool experience. It got me thinking about what we're looking for when we go hiking. And a lot of times we're looking for these waterfalls or these magnificent viewpoints or mountain views, these sorts of things. And they're very exciting, all of these different things. And our body, our nervous system gets very excited about them. It fills us with adrenaline. And that's a really big draw I think people have towards hiking. But doing this more relaxing way, my body, instead of getting excited, it got really just laid back, very chill. So as I was walking through these woods, it was more of a meditative experience. I was just sort of surrounded on all sides by just green everywhere. And the quiet of the forest, an occasional chirping of birds, an occasional rustling in the bushes, but mostly it was just me and my breath and my footsteps and the green. And that was a wholly different experience than hiking up, Angel's Rest in the Gorge or, going up Mount Hood. Just so quiet and relaxing and meditative. And I loved it. It was a different experience, but I think it was really worthwhile to have.
Oh, that sounds so nice. Oh my gosh. So you said that 2 days, one night. Was this a backpacking experience in the backcountry?
No.
Okay.
And that's the cool thing about this. So, Silver Falls has its main campground, the state park campground, where you find cabins, a bunch of campsites. It's a very large campground. But they also have this place that used to be known as the Silver Falls Conference Center. And they recently have revamped it into a place called Smith Creek Village. So they have all of these cabins. There's a lodge with some lodge rooms. There's some campsites as well. There's some larger cabins, all kinds of different places you can stay. And it's run privately now on the state park land. And it's situated right there in the backcountry. So what you can do is you can leave from the main, cabin or like the main parking area there at Smith Creek Village and go right onto the trails. Or you can drive a short way and get to the trails from other places. But it's situated so perfectly that I was like, I got to stay there. I think I originally made a reservation at the main Silver Falls campground just because I'm so used to doing that. And then I saw Smith Creek Village and I was like, oh man, I got to try that out. I've got to check out this place that's right there in the backcountry. That's the perfect way to do it.
Oh my gosh. And what did you think staying there?
I really liked it. Again, dead of winter, nobody there. I stayed in what they have, what they call these tiny cabins. It's basically just like a one room, like a studio cabin, if you will. There was a bed, there was a toilet, but not a shower. And there was a sink, and that was it. Nowhere to cook, nowhere to shower, but they have those facilities, shared and otherwise at the campground. So I stayed there, and there was this little village of probably, 8 or 9 of these little tiny cabins. But I was the only one staying in any of them. So
oh my God.
I was just alone in this cabin in the woods. And I know for some people that's like a terrifying idea. But it was so dark and so quiet and so peaceful that, I spent this whole day not seeing anyone. I talked to a person to check into this cabin. I get into the cabin and it got dark early, and I was just there all night, reading and listening to music and writing and editing pictures and stuff. But it was so quiet and peaceful again. It was like this nice little retreat into the woods. But I knew the whole time, I was so aware that I was so close to this area where there were people coming and going, the Trail of Tin Falls, all this busy campground, so many people that were so close by, but just a little farther away, I had the whole place to myself, and it was really nice.
Oh my God. So do the cabins have electricity?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's got electricity. It's got heating. It's got plumbing. So it was very cozy, very warm. I had no complaints about it. I had a nice little deck outside where you could sit. So, I was able to make a little bit of tea and then coffee in the morning and just sit out there and look out at the trees and listening to the rustles of, little nocturnal creatures in the bushes. It was just really sweet and nice.
And so did you bring, I'm assuming that they have a bed there and like you bring your own bedding or your sleeping bag or what?
They have their own bedding. They have bedding there for you. Yeah. It's a step up. So I they're the state park cabins. When you stay in those, it is like, a mat and you bring your own bed. Yeah. Right. Yeah. This is more in line with sort of a hotel. So they have bedding for you. It was all set up. They had a little one of those coffee pod, makers, if you're into that, which I use just for hot water, and made some tea that I brought. So they had everything there for you. It was like staying in a hotel room, but just a hotel room that was in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. This is like next level backcountry stay.
Yeah. And so I had a really peaceful night. And the next morning, I wanted to check out their restaurant they have at the Smith Creek Village. So they had, kind of away from the cabins that are just a short drive away, they have their main little hub. And there are some more, larger cabins around that area and the lodge. And in the lodge, there is a little restaurant that is open to the public year round. And I think on weekends this time of year, they do dinners. But they weren't doing dinner when I was there in the middle of the week, but they were doing breakfast, which they do every day. So I went down there first thing in the morning and had some breakfast down there, and it was lovely. Again, the only person there, I think another one or two people kind of sat down at another table at the very end, but for the most part, I was just in this little cafe, by myself. A waitress came and took my order, and it had just a really nice breakfast of like eggs and potatoes and toast and fruit and coffee, and had just a lovely time.
Oh my gosh. Wow. You got like this whole place to yourself. Yeah. And again, I'm just like blown away. It's like, this is not what I think of when I think of like backcountry. I think of like roughing it, covered in dirt and like, one with nature in a way that's like very up close and personal with it. But this sounds like, a little bit nicer of an experience.
It's a little bit of both too, right? Because, after I had that breakfast, I was like, well, let's get back onto the trail. I've got a whole another day. I want to check out another one of these trails because there's 35 miles of trail. There's no way, like I wanted originally maybe to be completionist about it, but there's no way I was going to explore all 35 miles in 2 days. That's insane. So the Buck Mountain Loop gave me a nice little chunk sort of in the middle, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit quicker, a little easier to get an idea of like, what can folks who don't want to do a big hike, what can they do in this area? So I decided to leave from the conference center itself. So I left breakfast and just walked straight onto the trail, basically. Oh. Just right around the side of the building, crossed a little bridge, and the trail leads right back into the backcountry. I did this hike called the Howard Creek Loop. And this is a little bit shorter. So the Buck Mountain Loop is 8 miles. This is about 3 miles. And it's a short loop, just leaving, like I said, from Smith Creek Village up alongside some creeks to the woods and right back down to where we started. And again, it was so lovely. I did see some other people this time walking their dogs, just a few people. But again, it was mostly just in the quiet of the trees along these sort of trickling creeks, real muddy. It's the winter, so it's kind of foggy and misty, but I saw some of the sunlight like cutting through the trees in the fog and like these beautiful sunbeams. Little tiny mushrooms growing on like the moss covered stumps. Everything was just like green and purple in that way that like these forests get this time of year. Just so magical. And to be there in the silence of that was, again, really, really cool.
So you mentioned it was a bit misty, but you didn't have like total rainfall happening, did you?
No, not that time. And I think this is the thing, with such a dense forest like this, it's a perfect time to go, even if it is raining, because you have a pretty good, tree cover there. So you have a rain jacket. I have my hat, that protects you from the rain, but the trees are also going to protect you from the rain too. I lucked out and didn't have any of that. I actually got some sunlight, that second morning, which is really beautiful. And it wasn't too cold. I think it was probably in like the 40s, the 50s. So it was pretty nice. I didn't have to worry about bundling up too much either. And that's the thing, a lot of, forested trails in Western Oregon, you're looking to go up into sort of the mountains for a lot of the stuff where you get a lot of snowfall, and it doesn't let you hike them year round. But Silver Falls is just low enough that you can hike it pretty much year round. A lot of times people don't go in the winter because the canyon and the Trail of Ten Falls gets really icy, and that's really dangerous. You don't want to be going down these stone steps in the ice.
Totally.
But in this forest here, you don't have to worry about that as much. It's wet, it's damp, it's muddy. But as long as it's not totally socked in with snow, it's something you can do year round.
Yeah. And it does not hurt that you have a nice, heated, dry little cabin to escape to
Exactly.
Afterwards. So that's a huge plus.
And to have food, to have a cabin, to have just that little bit of taste of luxury makes it so you don't have to camp out there in the wet cold,
Yeah. Wow. So how much do those cabins go for a night?
Yeah, great question. It varies, I think, by season, but typically you're looking at about like $94 a night is what I paid. That's for those like little, like those smaller ones. You can get some of these bigger ones for up to, like if you have a whole family, you want to have like, 6, 10 beds or places that sleep 12. Those will run you closer to like $500 a night. But still, if you're thinking about bringing like 12 people and it's $500 a night, that's pretty easily split among a couple of families or what have you. So it's a little bit more expensive than the state park cabins. But again, you're getting bedding. You've got this restaurant real close by. It's a little bit different. I'd say, like you said, it's a step up from that typical state park cabin experience. So you're going to pay naturally a little bit of money for that.
Right. And so the small cabin that you were staying in, is it like big enough for 2 people? What's the bed situation like? Can you squeeze 2 people into a bed? Oh, yeah.
I'd say 2 people is great. So if you're a couple or you have a friend who you don't mind sharing a bed with, it's a perfect spot. It's a nice queen bed. I was able to starfish pretty comfortably in it by myself. If you're trying to bring a family of 4, I'd say that cabin, or even with a child, that family might be a little too small. The mountain just a little bit bigger. But for 1 or 2 people, I think it's a perfect. These little tiny cabins are really nice for that.
Oh my gosh. This sounds so nice. I am blown away by, that this is the backcountry, but with so many amenities.
Exactly. And that's the thing, it's really easy to look at a place like Silver Falls and to see all the things that are so popular about it that we know about already, but to find a different facet of a place that we already love so much, that was what was cool for me. And that's why, when I go back to a place that I've already been to before, I want to see a different side of it. I'm always looking for new facets of places, and, going in different seasons helps with that, but checking out these other trails. And again, they're not as spectacular as the Trail of Ten Falls, but nothing's as spectacular as the Trail of Ten Falls. So if you're willing to branch out and have a different kind of hiking experience where you're less maybe awestruck and you're more just relaxed, this is a really, really good opportunity to practice that, and a place you can go any time of year as well.
Exactly. And remind me, Jamie, how new are these cabins in the setup here?
They're not super new, but they're older cabins, but they have been recently renovated. And what the Smith Creek Village told me too is that they are in the process of renovating them further. So they're looking to expand amenities a little bit more. So folks who maybe want to plan a trip to go to Smith Creek Village later this year or beyond, you might find it a little bit different even. So I would definitely check out their website. Definitely check out, if you're going to go into the backcountry trails and hike around there, definitely bring a map with you. Or check out some hiking guides either on Oregon Live or on Oregon Hikers. Make sure you know where you're going, because the trail network is backcountry. It's easy to get lost back there. And it's easy to get stuck back in some of these more remote trails, even though it is a bustling state park.
Totally. Well, this sounds like a great excuse to continue to get outdoors, even in these rainier times and not in the summertime. You have some options. A nice warm cabin after your rainy hike.
That's right. Vicky, you thinking about checking it out?
I'm totally thinking about checking it out. I got to find out if it's dog friendly. Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head. This is something that as a non-dog owner, I just don't think about as often.
Yeah.
But I feel like, just looking at the website right now, some of them are no pets and some of them are pet friendly. So it sense. Just is going to depend on which one you go to.
Okay. Well, if I can bring Stella, that makes the case even better. So
that's right.
I'm very, very tempted, and especially since I've only done the Trail of 10 Falls and I've only been there once, so I think I need to make my way back.
All right. Well, Vicky, we'll definitely report back when you do.
Absolutely.
But folks, I think that's going to wrap things up for today. So until next time, you can watch our videos on the Oregonians YouTube channel and view all of our travel and outdoors coverage on OregonLive.com/travel, as well as HereIsOregon.com.
Please leave us a rating or review if you enjoy the show. And if you want to support this podcast and our local journalism, please consider a subscription to Oregon Live. You can find details at OregonLive.com/pod support. Also, if you're a fan of the show and you're interested in potentially sponsoring it, you can get in touch with our marketing people at advertise@oregonian.com. This episode of the show was produced by me, Vicki Connor, alongside Jamie Hale, Andrew Thien, and Elena Neal Sachs.
Stay safe and happy travels, everyone. Until next time, we leave you with this: 10 seconds of Zen.